I'm gripping the stem of my wine glass so hard I'm surprised it hasn't snapped. And Camille is still talking like she's telling me the weather forecast. So I'll start moving in next weekend, she says, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Shouldn't take more than a day or two. Behind her, my father is already popping the cork on a bottle of champagne he pulled out of nowhere. My mother's good china, the set she only brings out for Easter and Christmas, is spread across the table like this is a celebration. And I'm sitting here realizing I'm the only person in the room who didn't get the memo. My name is Everly Shaw. I'm 34 years old. I owned a 3-bedroom Craftsman on Larkspur Lane in Denver, Colorado. The first and only thing I've ever bought entirely on my own. And apparently, without anyone bothering to ask me. It had just been volunteered as my little sister's next apartment. I should have seen it coming. 3 days earlier, I'd found a stack of plastic storage bins in my garage. Taped shut. Labeled in Camille's loopy handwriting times, Cami winter clothes, Cami books. When I texted her about it, she brushed it off. Oh, just storing some stuff. My apartment's tiny. Don't worry about it. I should have known then. Just like I should have known 3 months ago. When I overheard my mother on the phone with my aunt in the kitchen, Everly's rattling around in that big house all by herself. She'd said, like my life was a problem waiting for Camille to solve. It's really perfect timing. Perfect timing. As if my entire existence was just infrastructure for whatever crisis my sister landed herself in next. Isn't this great news? Camille says now, raising her glass. Oblivious or pretending to be to the fact that my hands are shaking? You get company. I get to save on rent. Win-win. I set my wine down. My fingers find the edge of the manila envelope I almost left in my car. Because some small, stupid part of me had hoped tonight wouldn't be the night. But there's never a right night with my family. There's only their schedule. Their plans. Their version of what's fair. Actually, I say. And my voice comes out steadier than I expected. I have some news too. My mother's smile falters instantly. My father sets his champagne down like it's suddenly too heavy. That's the thing about my family, you learn to read the weather change in their faces before a single word is spoken. What kind of news? My mother says. Not a question. A warning. I slide the envelope into the center of the table. Right next to the china. Right next to the champagne nobody asked if I wanted. This is the closing paperwork for my house. I say. I sold it 2 weeks ago. I move out in 28 days. The silence that follows is the loudest thing I've ever heard. Camille's glass slips out of her hand and shatters on the hardwood. Nobody moves to clean it up. You times what times, she whispers. I pull out my phone and open the Pinterest board I'd stumbled across that morning, while looking for a recipe my mother and aunt had somehow gotten access to Camille's account. And there it was, a board titled Times Cami's New Room, full of paint swatches and bed frames. Dated back 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Before anyone had said a single word to me. Interesting. I say, turning the screen around. While I was apparently supposed to be hosting, you two were already decorating. My father stands so fast his chair scrapes the floor. You can cancel a sale like that. There's a cooling off period. Everly, don't be dramatic. There isn't. Actually, and I'm not. We already told Camille she could stay as long as she needed. My mother says, her voice climbing. You expect her to find a new place in a month. We were even going to help move her things next Tuesday. My Aunt Louise chimes in from the end of the table. While you were at work. To make it easier on everyone. While I was at work? They'd planned to move my sister into my house behind my back. And somehow I'm the one who's supposed to feel guilty. You did this on purpose. Cami says, tears already streaming. Right on cue. You found out I needed somewhere to stay and you sold the house just to spite me. There it is. The line I've heard my whole life in a dozen different forms. Whatever I do for myself gets rebranded as something I did times to times someone else. I could tell them the truth right now. That the roof gave out in April and cost me $14,000 I didn't have budgeted. That the main water line cracked 2 months later and drained what was left of my savings. That the furnace died in July and finished the job. That I've been eating rice and beans for 4 months and pretending everything is fine at every single one of these dinners. But I already know how this room works. Vulnerability isn't currency here. It's ammunition. I made this decision for my own reasons. I say instead, and it's final. So you're just going to let your sister be homeless, my mother says. Voice cracking with practiced devastation. She's not homeless. Mom, she has an apartment. And you have a spare bedroom. That is times, not times the point. My father snaps. Family helps family. Full stop. I feel the unspoken second half of that sentence hang in the air. The one they've aimed at me my whole lifetimes, and you're not being family. Under the table. I feel a hand close gently over mine. It's my mother's cousin. Rosalind, we call her Roz, the only person at this table who has never once made me feel like an inconvenience. She doesn't look up from her plate. She just squeezes my hand once and whispers. So quietly only I can hear it. Good for you. Kid. It's such a small thing. But in that moment, it's the only thing keeping me upright. The calls start Tuesday morning. Before I've even finished my coffee. Aunt Louise. First. Is it true you sold your house just to keep your sister from moving in? Then Uncle Marvin? Then my cousin Priya, who I haven't spoken to in 2 years. Then, somehow, my father's poker buddy Gary, whose involvement in my personal life I genuinely cannot explain. Every call follows the same script. Camille's suffering, my cruelty, their disappointment. By Thursday, Camille's posted about it online, some paragraph about learning who really has your back when things get hard. 41 sympathetic comments deep. My own mother's the top one times. We're here for you always. Sweetheart. That afternoon my coworker, Priya, a different Priya, the one I actually like, from the marketing department, stops by my desk with a look on her face like she's about to deliver bad news at a funeral. I ran into your sister at the coffee shop this morning, she says carefully. She mentioned she might end up homeless because of some decision you made, if she needs it. My church runs a housing assistance program. I laugh. It comes out harsher than I mean it to. She's not homeless. Priya. She has an apartment and 2 parents with a 4-bedroom house. That night I lock myself in my bathroom and text my sister times. Stop telling people I'm making you homeless. You know it isn't true. Her response comes back in seconds. Times, you're selling the house I was counting on. What else would you call it? I set the phone down and don't answer. Here's what nobody in that dining room knew. In April, a storm ripped 3 separate holes through my roof. And the contractor's quote came in at $14,200. Insurance covered none of it pre-existing wear. They said. I drained my emergency fund and took out a small personal loan, telling myself it was a one-time thing. In May, the water main under my front yard failed. Another $6,400. Gone. Plus the cost of redoing the landscaping it destroyed. I canceled a trip to see my college roommate in Austin. I picked up freelance social media work on the weekends. I ate a lot of eggs. In July, the furnace gave out completely. Another $5,000 I simply didn't have. Some nights I'd sit at my kitchen table with a calculator and 3 different spreadsheets open, running the same numbers over and over, hoping they'd add up differently the 5th time. They never did. I cried more that summer than I had in the previous decade combined. Always after midnight. Always quietly. So the neighbors walking their dogs past my window wouldn't see that the woman who waved at them every morning, put together and smiling, was falling apart, one bill at a time. I started punching new holes in my belt instead of buying smaller pants. Temporary, I told myself. Just a rough patch. Meanwhile, every night. I packed a little more of my house into boxes labeled Times Keep. Donate? Sell. 9 years of a life folded into cardboard. And every single receipt, every bank statement, every repair invoice, I kept them all. Filed by date. Because some part of me already knew I'd need proof one day that this wasn't spite. It was survival. While clearing out my office closet, I found a photo I'd nearly forgotten me on the front porch the day I signed the mortgage. Keys in my hand. Grinning so hard my face hurt. My realtor took it without me noticing. I remember that feeling exactly, pride that didn't need anyone else's permission. I set the frame gently on top of the nearest box. Saturday. The doorbell rings. No warning text. Through the window, I see my parents' SUV in the driveway. Camille's car right behind it. When I open the door, they file in like a delegation, grim, righteous, ready to stage an intervention. My mother spots the moving boxes immediately. You're really going through with this. I keep wrapping a plate in newspaper. Closing's in 3 weeks. Your sister needs you. My mother says. Voice rising. You've always been a little selfish. Everly. But this is beyond anything I'd expect. I set the plate down. Did anyone ever once ask what I need? Silence. I need financial stability. I say. I need to stop having panic attacks at 2 a.m. about whether I can cover next month's mortgage. I need to stop bleeding my savings account dry for a house that keeps falling apart around me. We're your family, my mother says. Wounded. Yes. And I have never once asked any of you for money. Not for college. Not for my first apartment. Not for this house. Not for any of the repairs that wiped me out. Nobody answers that. My father studies the ceiling like it's suddenly fascinating. Camille stares at her shoes. I realize, standing there with a half-wrapped plate in my hands, that I don't need their approval anymore. It's a strange, quiet kind of relief. Like putting down a bag I didn't realize I'd been carrying for 30 years. That evening, Roz shows up with Thai takeout and a bottle of Malbec, and we pack photo albums together while she tells me about her own sister, who didn't speak to her for 3 years after Roz refused to co-sign a car loan. Family patterns are the hardest thing to break, she says. But sometimes breaking them is the only way anyone gets free. Monday. My coworker Devin texts out of nowhere times. Need help moving, I've got a truck. Family's usually the last to see us clearly. Just say the word. That same afternoon, my financial advisor, Marcus, emails to confirm my mortgage pre-approval on the new place, a 2-bedroom condo downtown. Based on your numbers, this move drops your housing costs by nearly 40%. He writes, this is the right call for your long-term stability. Call if you need anything. I sit with that contrast for a long time. These people ask what I need. My family tells me what to give. That night, I spread every document across my dining table, bank statements, repair invoices, tax records, the whole messy, honest truth of my finances, and I realized tomorrow's family meeting isn't going to be an intervention aimed at me. It's going to be a reckoning with facts they've spent years choosing not to see. There's one thing they still don't know. My sale agreement includes a 30-day rent-back clause. I get to stay in my own house for a month after closing while my new place gets finalized. Breathing room. They have no idea I have. At 7 o'clock Tuesday evening, the doorbell rings. And it's not just my parents and Camille, it's Uncle Marvin, Aunt Louise, and my cousin Priya standing behind them on the porch. A full family delegation. Assembled like a jury. I stand at the head of my own dining table with a manila folder in my hands. And for the first time in my life, my fingers don't shake. Before anyone says anything, I say, I need you all to actually see something. I lay the documents out one at a time. The roof invoice $14,200. The water main repair $6,400. The furnace replacement 5,000. My drained savings account. Balance highlighted in yellow. Uncle Marvin puts on his reading glasses and leans in, frowning. My mother goes quiet for the first time all week. My advisor recommended I sell while the market's strong. I say, rather than risk being underwater later. Camille stands up so fast, her chair scrapes the floor. This is convenient math. Everly, you've always been good with numbers when it suits you. Uncle Marvin turns to her. Unexpectedly. Camille, what's your employment situation these days? Last I heard you were between jobs. She stammers. I'm exploring some things. This isn't about employment. My mother snaps. This is about family duty. Speaking of the house, Aunt Louise says, adjusting her glasses as she scans the furnace bill. Why can't Camille just stay with you? Marvin, you've got that guest room. For the first time, the conversation doesn't orbit around me. Roz clears her throat. I've known this family 20 years. Everly bought that house with zero help from anyone in this room. Meanwhile, I've watched Camille get bailed out on rent, on car payments, on credit cards. More times than I can count. Marcus, sitting quietly by the window, adds, as Everly's advisor, I can tell you enabling financial dependency doesn't help anyone long-term. It just drains one person and stunts the other. Devin, who'd come along to help load boxes and ended up staying for the whole thing, leans forward. My brother lived off my parents until he was 41. They paid everything. Solved everything. When they passed, he lost the house within a year because he never learned how to manage on his own. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is stop rescuing someone. The room goes quiet in a way I've never experienced at one of these dinners. Not the tense, waiting for me to cave kind of quiet, but something closer to reflection. Camille grabs her purse. This is ridiculous. You're all acting like I'm some kind of charity case. Everly's always been the golden child with her perfect house and perfect job. And nobody ever thinks about how hard things have been for me. Nobody moves to stop her. The door slams behind her. Uncle Marvin waits for the echo to fade. I think it's time this family had an honest conversation about money. All of us. Including Camille. My mother's eyes well up. But for the first time, it doesn't feel like a weapon aimed at me. My father reaches for her hand under the table. Quiet. His face unreadable. For the first time in a family confrontation, I don't leave feeling like the villain. A week later, the doorbell rings again. This time, it's just my parents and Camille. And I already know they've come with a plan. We've been talking, my mother says, settling onto my one remaining piece of unwrapped furniture. And we think we found a compromise. My father nods. Instead of Camille moving in with you, what if you just helped her get her own place with your salary? It'd barely make a dent. Camille, rehearsed and soft-voiced. Some people just have worse luck than others. I walk to the table where I've laid out a fresh set of documents. I'm meeting with my lender tomorrow. I say, sliding my pre-approval letter toward my father. My new mortgage payment is almost 40% less than what I was paying here. This was never just about Camille. It was about rebuilding my savings after 3 home repairs nearly wiped me out. It was about finally putting my own stability first. I hold up a business card. I can't hand you money, I tell Camille, but I can hand you an opportunity. My company's marketing department has an entry-level opening. Starting salary covers rent on a 1-bedroom. Easily. I already spoke to HR. They'll interview you next week if you want it. Camille stares at the card without taking it. For once, she doesn't have a comeback. This isn't charity. I add, it's a door. Whether you walk through it is up to you. My father moves toward the window, past the bare picture hooks where family photos used to hang. Everly, be reasonable. I cut him off. Gently but firmly. Pulling out a spreadsheet I built the week before every gift. every bailout. Every just this once my parents had given Camille over 5 years. Totaled and circled in red at the bottom, my mother gasps, "This isn't love." I say quietly, "It's dependence. And it's hurting both of you." My father studies the number for a long moment. Nobody argues. "We just wanted to help her." My mother whispers, "The best help," I say, "is teaching someone to stand on their own. You taught me that once. Remember when I wanted to drop out of college because calculus was destroying me? And you wouldn't let me move back home. You made me find a tutor instead." Strange how the rule changes depending on the daughter. Nobody has anything to say to that. They leave a few minutes later. Camille lingers at the door. And as she turns to go, I catch her slide the business card into her purse when she thinks I'm not looking. 3 months later, I'm standing in my new condo downtown. Sunlight pouring across the hardwood floors, and it finally feels like mine, not a compromise. A choice. My mortgage payment shows up in green in my budgeting app every month. 38% lower than it used to be. I signed up for a pottery class I'd wanted to take for years and never had the spare cash for. Small things. Mine. Sunday dinners at my parents' house have changed too. When I walk in now, it's with a bottle of wine instead of a headache. Camille meets me in the kitchen, and she's got a new business card of her own marketing coordinator. Entry level. Mostly coffee runs so far, she says, laughing at herself in a way I haven't heard from her in years. My mother asks about my pottery class before she asks about anything else. My father listens to both of us equally at dinner for what might be the first time in my adult life. The following weekend, Camille and I sit at my kitchen table with spreadsheets between us. "If I save 15% of every paycheck," she says, chewing her lip as she runs the math, "I could have first and last month's rent by spring." My parents watch from the couch. Quiet. "We should have done this years ago." My mother admits softly, "We thought we were helping. We didn't realize we were hurting both of you." I don't have a clean answer for that. I just watch my sister do her own math. For the first time, on her own terms, and I think about how long it took me to learn that love and rescue aren't always the same thing. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for the people you love is let them build something themselves.